So there have been several people bringing up an old claim from last year that the toxicology of the 4 Idaho victims of Brian Koberger was released on the ISP annual report. And that also it can be found on the Idaho County Crime Stats annual report. And neither of that is correct. The toxicology reports for the 4 victims have not been released. Now, I know that Steve G claimed that none of the victims had anything in their system, and that may very well be, except he is not an official source. Law enforcement and the medical examiner's office have not released these publicly. But I will show you what people are talking about in regards to the ISP report and how it's not from the Idaho 4. And then I will also show you the reports for Idaho County to show you they don't have any toxicology associated with those reports. This is the report most people are referring to. It's the Idaho State Police Forensic Services Toxicology Program Trends. Notice it says FY 2022. That's fiscal year 2022. Do you know what the fiscal year is? It's July 1st of 2021 to June 30th of 2022. So fiscal year 2022 did not encompass the Idaho 4 murders because those were in November of 2022. But people still have been referencing this report in their videos. I've had several people say, oh no, you need to look at page 20 in that report. So we will take a look at page 20. And we're going to scroll through this because also, even if it did encompass the Idaho murders, there's no way to really know that. So this talks about the overview and background, and it's basically toxicology that was sent to the 3 Idaho State Police toxicology labs. So you have the one in Meridian, then there's one in Coeur d'Alene, and then there's one other. Now, the autopsies for the Idaho 4 were done in Spokane. They were done by the medical examiner in Spokane, Washington, Spokane County. So I don't even believe that the toxicology reports would have been sent to the Idaho State Police labs anyways. So I doubt they would have been included. But I do have the overview and background listed here so you can read that for full disclosure, just so you can see. But it really doesn't make sense that the Idaho 4 would have even been in these ISP reports anyways. So I'm going to start fast forwarding through this one from 2022, and you can pause if you need to read any of these. This gives you a general breakdown, and it is showing you murders, and it does show 4 murders on here. But again, these were from fiscal year 2022, which was July 1st of 2021 to June 30th of 2022. So those 4 are not the Idaho 4. But let's keep scrolling. You can see that they're showing alcohol and other violations. This is mainly DUIs that are contained in this report, by the way. I mean, they do have some murder results that came in, but we're going to scroll on down to page 20, and we're getting closer. And there it is right there. So it shows 4 under murders, and it says 1 was negative, and then 3 were positive. This is what you keep seeing people cite as the 4 Idaho murder victims, the Moscow murder victims. So they're trying to tell you that 1 was negative for anything in their system and that the other 3 had drugs in their system. But we know this isn't the Idaho 4 because it's the wrong fiscal year. So can we just debunk that part right now? Just admit, all of you, that this is not the 4 murders from November 13th, 2022. So should not be any questions that those 4 murders listed on there are not the Moscow murders. They're not the Idaho 4 because it's the wrong fiscal year. Doesn't encompass the correct time frame. Also, even if it was the correct fiscal year, we don't even know if that's them because there were more than 4 murders that occurred in Idaho during fiscal year 2022 and fiscal year 2023. So you don't even know which ones they are. But let's take a look at some other reports just in case. Okay, so this is the fiscal year 2023 toxicology trends. Now, this would encompass the year that the Idaho 4 happened, because this would be July 1st, 2022 to June 30th, 2023. And it says it discusses trends with toxicology cases submitted to the Idaho State Forensic Services Labs, which is Coeur d'Alene, Pocatello, and Meridian. Now, we don't know for sure that their toxicology was submitted to the ISP labs because, remember, as I mentioned earlier, their autopsies were done in Spokane. The Spokane County Medical Examiner performed their autopsies, and the toxicology labs would have been done there. So we have no way of knowing if they were performed at this lab. But I'm going to scroll through this report just in full disclosure so that you can see and make a decision for yourself. Okay, so we're going to start scrolling through the report. Here you'll see the general breakdown for fiscal year 2023. It shows 9 total homicides, so murder, attempted murder. So actually that includes not just murders, but attempted. So 9 total were sent to the ISP labs. Well, we know that there was more than 9 murders and attempted murders in Idaho for that fiscal year. So chances of the Idaho 4 being in there are probably slim. Again, as I mentioned earlier, their autopsies were done in Spokane over in Washington. So their toxicology would have been ran in the Spokane County lab. So we don't even know that they were sent over to any of the ISP labs. But this is saying that there was 3 alcohol reports, 5 blood toxicologies, and 1 urine toxicology. So that was how they tested the murder victims and attempted murder victims for anything in their systems. And we'll keep scrolling on down here so you can see this report for yourself. You can pause if you need to. And it mainly, again, is talking about fatality accidents, auto accidents, mainly DUIs. They're really talking a lot about blood alcohol as far as accidents. But we're going to get down here, toxicology, drugs in blood and urine. They're talking about the blood categories. You can pause and read that because they're also talking about marijuana in the system, not just alcohol. And we're going to keep on scrolling until we get to the part that has the summary for the murders. But again, you can pause and read because you might find something interesting among these sections. You never know. Because again, mainly alcohol and drug overdoses that we're dealing with. Not so much murders. And adult toxicology, adult blood urine, adult yada, 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 DUIs. Here we go again with auto fatalities. Now here is that same chart that appeared on the 2022 one. And it shows you that there was 13 death investigations and then 6 attempted murders. Well, we know that there were more than 6 murders and attempted murders in Idaho for fiscal year 2023. So, I dare you to tell me that the 4 Idaho 4 victims are included in this 6. I dare you. So, you can think what you want, but I don't believe they're listed in this. And I'm just going to scroll down through the rest of the report. Here we go again. Rape, other offenses, auto accidents, facilities, top 10 ISP reported. So just so you can get the full picture. Okay, so we know that the Idaho 4 were not in the fiscal year 2022. And we took a look at the fiscal year 2023 toxicology report, and I have no reason to believe they were in there. The autopsies were done in Spokane. I don't believe they were sent to the ISP lab. And even if they were, we have no way to differentiate which of the murders were theirs out of those numbers. So now I'm going to take a look at the Latah County specifics and then the Moscow specifics, because I did have some people come at me and tell me that, oh no, I saw the toxicology on the Latah County crime report. So we're going to take a look at that. And you'll notice as we look at it, guess what's not there? Toxicology. Okay, so this is the Crime in Idaho 2022 report, and this is the UCR report, which they also submit to the FBI. And I am going to scroll down here to Latah County. And we're going to take a look at Latah County. And it does show homicide 4. Yep, that's the Idaho 4. Because this wasn't fiscal year. This was actually the full year, January to December. And do you see anywhere on here anything about toxicology? Nope. So yeah, I'm even scrolling over to the right-hand side so you can see there's no more in this table. This does not show toxicology. Now this is tunneling down further into Latah County. And this shows you the 4 homicides in Moscow. There they are, done at a residence and home, 11/13/2022. There's their ages, 21, 20, 20, 21. Tells you that an offender was arrested, male, age 27. Nowhere on here is there toxicology. You can look at all these columns. Nothing. Tells you what the cause of death was, knife, cutting instrument. Okay, now we're going to tunnel further. We're not just going to do Latah County, but we're going to come down here into Moscow Police Department and then Latah County Sheriff's Department specifically. So here's the Moscow Police Department crime report. And you will see on here that under murders, that yes, there are 4. That was the Idaho 4. There are 4 murders. 1 adult was arrested. No toxicology is listed on here. In case you're not seeing it, that's clear up on that top line under Group A offenses, murder. Nothing on this page lists toxicology. Here's the Latah County Sheriff. Now, there was nothing out in the county, so you won't see any murders on here. But again, no toxicology listed. I'll keep showing and scrolling down through just in case you don't believe me. But Latah County total. Here you go. 4 murders, 1 adult arrested. Again, no toxicology listed. Okay, but in case you still don't believe me, for whatever reason, I'm going to show you the full State of Idaho 2022 crime report. So not just the county of Latah or the city of Moscow, the whole state. Just so you can take a look at the full report for yourself and see that nothing about toxicology is listed. Okay, so this is the full state report. So Crime in Idaho 2022. We're going to scroll through this. And this is also put out by the Idaho State Police. But instead of tunneling down into the different counties, we're actually going to look at the crime stats for the whole state. And again, this is part of the UCR program, which they also report to the FBI for the FBI's UCR. And this just gives you the different chapters in the table of contents, yada, yada, yada. Okay, so here we go. Violent crimes, crime against persons, Group A offenses. This is just giving you the numbers of crimes and the percents. So we got violent crime, crime rate, crimes against person. Okay, murder. There's 1 murder every 7.2 days in Idaho in 2022. And here's your total number for Idaho in 2022. 51 were reported. So the Idaho 4 was included in that 51. Nothing on this table has toxicology. So you can scroll down it if you want. You can pause it and look at it. Now we're going to continue to come down here because we've got your Group A, and this also has your offense location. So it talks about where the offenses happened. So the Idaho 4 actually happened in a residence in their home, and it would be listed up in there. And then here's your crime reporting districts and offenses by district. So you can see that Latah County's up there, which district they're in. And Latah County was District 2. So, the murders are listed up in there. And then statewide crime profile, crime against persons, blah, 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 blah. Statewide profile again. Victims by age and gender. So again, the 4 Moscow victims were listed in here under age and gender. So they're listed under the female and male from that age 20 to 24 range is where they were at. So you can see there was actually 4 females in Idaho that were murdered in that 20 to 24 range and 7 males. And more of the different types of crimes, type of weapons used, so you can see what types of weapons. Knife was used in 4 in Idaho. That was the 4 in Moscow. And relationship to the victim, it will tell you whether the offender was an acquaintance or unknown. Statewide crime profile. As we're scrolling down here, just notice what is not listed. Okay? Toxicology is not listed. So I'm going to keep scrolling through here just because I don't want somebody to say, well, you didn't scroll through the whole report. Toxicology could have been listed. Well, but here again, types of weapons used, you have race, you have offensive reported, you have the murder count, 5-year trend, victim count by age. So you can see there was 11 in that 20 to 24 age range. Victim types, adults and juveniles. Relationships, stranger was 7.5% of the time. Otherwise known, 7.5% of the time. Yes. But if you look, 43.75% was relationship unknown. I think that's kind of interesting because that tells you that most of the time it is not somebody close to the murder victim. You add up those percentages and it's more unknown or a stranger than it is somebody close to them. So that's something to note. But yeah, I'm just scrolling really quick through this because you can pause and read if you need to. But again, toxicology is nowhere to be found in this report. So, pretty interesting. Even goes into gambling and pornography because Idaho's weird. They go after all kinds of crimes in Idaho. But this is juvenile arrest, juvenile by age, hate crime. So you can see in none of those other reports is there anything about toxicology. So if anybody's telling you that they've seen the toxicology for the Idaho 4 in those reports, they are incorrect. What we have with this case, and I don't think I've ever seen this so much with any other case, is the Mandela effect. What that is a false memory. People think that they remember something that actually isn't reality. So when Nelson Mandela was in prison, several people swore that he had died in prison, that they had heard he had died in prison, which was absolutely untrue. What we're seeing with the Idaho case is people are swearing that the toxicology was listed in these reports, even though it wasn't. They're swearing that Xana's father said that she was home eating pizza at midnight with Ethan, even though that wasn't true. They're just believing all kinds of things that were not rooted in reality, that were not in black and white. And that's why I wanted to show these toxicology reports, because there was just a rash of people again last week trying to claim that the Idaho 4's toxicology was listed in these reports, and that is absolutely not reality. So it's been an interesting phenomenon, honestly, watching this case and seeing the human behavior involved with the people that have been drawn to this case. It's pretty amazing how fast rumors have spread and how many people have believed actual falsehoods as truth, even though there was no proof of any of those things. But I just wanted to clear this one up because the toxicology reports have not been released and they will not be shown till trial.